We're on a road trip. I'm Joseph. This is Input English. So we're on a road trip, but let me clarify. This is not a cross-country trip. This is a day trip. So I've chosen to take us on an adventure up in San Francisco. As we might say, we're going up into the city. Specifically, I want to go to the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, you may be familiar with the Golden Gate Bridge. It's quite an icon. It's a symbol. It's the symbol of San Francisco, and it's recognized the world over. But we should remember, it wasn't always there. Before 1933, there was no Golden Gate Bridge, but there was a Golden Gate because the passage from San Francisco Bay into the Pacific was historically referred to as the Golden Gate. Prior to the opening of this bridge, there was a thriving ferry service that would ferry vehicles across the Golden Gate. People didn't find that terribly efficient or convenient, and so proposals were discussed over many years to build a bridge. Some people thought it was folly. Just deal with it. It's the ferry system. Just don't worry about it. But enthusiasts for this project persisted, and the plan started maturing. By 1930, there was a fairly firm plan to build a bridge at the Golden Gate. Groundbreaking occurred in 1933. Recall, that was during the Great Depression. People needed jobs, and this building project of the Golden Gate Bridge provided some jobs. The project was huge, and it took 4 years to complete. The bridge opened in 1937. One of the big contractors for the Golden Gate Bridge was the Roebling Company. Roebling made cables, steel cables, and if you just look at an image of the Golden Gate Bridge, you'll understand how Roebling could have been prominent in this construction. The bridge is a suspension bridge, and it's full of cables. Now, the reason I mention this is specific to our family. It's a story. When my mom was growing up, she had an Uncle Jack. Now, I don't really think he was in reality an uncle. It's common in various cultures to refer to an elder friend of the family as an uncle or an aunt, even if they're not a blood relation. So I don't recall that Uncle Jack was actually an uncle, but he was entitled Uncle Jack because he fulfilled that role. Uncle Jack had quite an influence on my mom because when she was growing up, he was in the height of his career, and his career required him to travel. So when he traveled, he made sure to send postcards and perhaps get small gifts, souvenirs, and he created in my mom a great desire for travel. Having an Uncle Jack let her realize that these things were possible. I started out from home after the rush hour. My plan was to get to the Golden Gate in a more leisurely way rather than fight my way through rush hour traffic to get there. I also have been watching the weather. It's now summer, it's in August, and the summer weather in San Francisco frequently creates fog. Now, fog is fine with me unless I'm making a video and I'm trying to show you something. So for the purpose of making a good video, I would prefer that fog not be a prominent feature in the weather of the day. So I've been watching the weather forecast, and typically it has been very foggy. But this week, things changed. And today it is forecast to be clear and not terribly windy. The wind will build later in the afternoon, but hopefully we will not be burdened with high winds. Our trip is approximately 50 miles. It's almost entirely freeway. When I left the house, my plan was to stop at a grocery store and get something to drink and use their bathroom. I knew exactly where I was going, and off I went. When I got to that store, I was surprised that they had fences all around the parking lot. It was a construction site. They're renovating the store. Well, change of plans. Down the street, there was a perfectly good coffee shop. Everything's fine, and I'm back on the road. I'm on the 280. When I say the 280, it's Highway 280. Specifically, it's an interstate, part of the U.S. interstate system. The 280 leads from San Jose up to San Francisco. We're now very near to Stanford University, which is right over there. We are now 32 miles from San Francisco, but it's going to take more than 45 minutes to get there. This part of the trip is very efficient. I'm maintaining 70 miles an hour easily, and there's not much traffic. When I get up into San Francisco, I will leave the freeway and get onto basically city streets, which will take me up to the Golden Gate. That will include traffic lights, a lot of stop and go traffic, and it's going to be much slower. We're now in San Francisco, so I exited the freeway in favor of US 1, and that puts us on these city streets. You can see a lot of brake lights. There are a lot of stopped cars. For me, traveling in San Francisco is always a challenge in terms of tolerating traffic, tolerating the traffic lights, and tolerating the behavior of other people. Whenever I go into San Francisco, I mentally prepare for a big change in the environment. And this change always requires me to be tolerant. This stretch of 19th Avenue leads us to Golden Gate Park. You can see toward the end of this road, toward the end of what you can see on this road, there are a bunch of trees. And those trees are Golden Gate Park. Well, we broke loose of the traffic. We're now in Golden Gate Park. And in front of me is a taxi cab, a taxi, but this is a Waymo. And this taxi has no driver. These are robotic taxis. And I'm going to definitely try that. I would like to try an automaton taxi that may be a wave of the future. I don't know. I would trust it on the roads. I don't think I would want to get onto a jetliner that does not have a real pilot. Given the nature of air travel, I would prefer to have a pilot. But for driving in places like San Francisco, I don't really have any problem with trying a self-driving car. That is a Waymo, and there is no one in the driver's seat. The car is just driving itself. There are people in the car, and they're talking to each other, but none of them occupy the driver's seat. I'm definitely going to have to take a Waymo. Golden Gate Park has a couple of wonderful destinations. Obviously, it's a park, and you can walk around a lot and enjoy yourself. But there's the DeYoung Museum, a wonderful art museum, and there is the California Academy of Sciences, which is a fabulous place to bring family. Now we've departed the Golden Gate Park, and we're heading toward another San Francisco landmark, which is the Presidio. Presidio, of course, is a Spanish word that means prison. But really, it was a military base. It was an army base for many decades. So now we've entered into the Presidio. So we've come through the General Douglas MacArthur Tunnel, and now we're heading toward the Golden Gate Bridge. So this is the Golden Gate Bridge. There are people walking across it, but as you can see, it's very foggy. What an interesting experience. So we have established the one thing, that is, we will be able to walk on the bridge. And then the other discovery is that the bridge is enshrouded in fog. There's an expression that covers this: best laid plans. I mentioned that in another video. So notwithstanding my good planning and a weather forecast that was favorable, this is what we get. And it's okay. Look at that. My word. That was dramatic. The tower emerged from the fog. Wow. Now the next challenge coming up can be anticipated, and that is I may have some trouble finding parking. This looks like a really popular place to visit, and I judge that it is possible that parking may be hard to come by. We will see. So you can see we have arrived at the Golden Gate. The bridge is behind me, partially enshrouded in fog. There are a lot of people. It looks like about 200 people here enjoying themselves. There's a food vendor, and parking wasn't really that big a deal. I found a parking space pretty quickly. So now it's time to walk across the bridge at least part way and see what it's like out there. There's a lot of noise here. There's also a foghorn. For navigation purposes, they have audible signals, that is foghorns, for people in boats or ships to help their navigation. So you may hear a foghorn in the background. Or my sound system may filter it out for you. So let's take a hike on the Golden Gate Bridge. So I'm walking out onto the bridge now. There's a tremendous amount of road noise. We'll see if the sound system can handle that. So as I stop here and turn around, you can see the bridge. It's partially covered with fog. Below the bridge, you can see a marina. On this side of the bay, it's a lovely day. This is an interesting view. You can see San Francisco. The skyscrapers are peeking out over top of the fog. You can see from where we came. Now I'm going to turn around. And you can see we have the first tower. This one is in the sun. The other one is completely in the fog. So I've gotten to the tower behind me. As I turn, you can see more of the bridge. This area is sheltered from the road noise. I'm standing next to that tower, and the tower is reflecting a lot of that road noise. You get a view for how this walkway is working. A lot of people walking on the Golden Gate. I've heard no complaints. No one is whining about the fog. It just is what it is. People are here to take in the experience, and I hear no complaints. So behind me, you can see the path to mid-span. I'm not going to continue going any further. This path just takes us deeper into the fog. So I'm going to start heading back. I visited the Golden Gate Bridge many times, And what I observe is that it's frequently a place you bring out-of-town visitors. When we lived in Washington, D.C., we rarely went downtown, and we rarely visited places like the Washington Monument or the Lincoln Memorial. However, when we had out-of-town visitors, those were obvious places to go. And that's where we are with this as well. I've not been on the Golden Gate Bridge for maybe 10 years, but true to form, I'm bringing out-of-town visitors here to see what it's like. I'm back in the vicinity of the car. Below us, there is a park. I'm going to take a drive down there and see what's to see. I drove down to Fort Baker. Fort Baker is part of the National Park Service. They have an active base for the Coast Guard here. They have a marina, and we're standing on a pier attributed to the Fort Baker facility. Fort Baker, I believe, was Army, and it's not an active Army post. People use this pier for fishing, and they had some signs that explained what type of crab you're allowed to keep and what kind of crab is prohibited. This is a great vantage point to look at the Golden Gate Bridge from below. You can see that huge fog bank in the Golden Gate. That is in the geographical location of the Golden Gate, the mouth of the San Francisco Bay. And then you can see that tower looming out of the fog bank. At the end of the land here, there is a small building, and that's a lighthouse. It's an old lighthouse, and it is in need of restoration. It's not open, the road's blocked, it says no admittance, and so we don't get to go look at it, but it is a lighthouse from many decades ago. Across the bay is San Francisco, but it's completely enshrouded in fog. This is typical of this time of year. I ran afoul of my believing in the weather forecast. The weather forecast said that it was going to be bluebird weather, completely clear skies. Well, I suppose you could judge that it is, because there's not a cloud in the sky, but the detail is San Francisco is enshrouded in fog. I'm not going to dwell on that. It's a fact of life. It's the way it is, and I'm not going to get excited about it. There are a lot of things to do from this location. There's a lot of parkland between us and the Pacific Ocean. And on another video, I will show you what it's like up there. That would be the Marin Headlands. In spite of the fog, it's a lovely day here in San Francisco. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.